Hey everybody, it's Vinny back with Proguides, and today we got a sequel to the TI3 video, but unlike TI3, which was the best series of all time, this one's about the worst series of all time, so if you've been around for a long time, you know what we're about to talk about. But first, the question of the day. Do you think Valve is actually going to release a new hero at the end of November? Could it be even two? Will there be a new patch with the new hero, or is it just going to be the hero? Let me know what your predictions are. TI4, that is what we're talking about. Nobody should be surprised if you've been playing since 2014. TI4 was just like any other TI. It came around and the meta seemed pretty well established going into it. It was very team fight based. You had a lot of strong heroes like Faceless Void, Tide Hunter, Skywrath Mage, particularly in combo with Void. Mirana and Bane were a very feared ganking duo. You had Doom, you had Lycan. Lycan was just out of this world broken. Everyone knew that. But what nobody knew is how the meta would actually end up shaping out. So let's not get too ahead of ourselves though. Let's talk about notable games and storylines at TI4. I would say there's three big games that everyone remembers if they were at TI4. The first would be one of the biggest comebacks ever on the TI main stage, and that was an elimination match between LGD and DK. DK was an old powerhouse all-star team that unfortunately disbanded after this event. Actually, you would probably still know all five of these players today. They had Mushi, Lanham, Ice, Burning, who's retired and a dad now, and MMY. This was the absolute star-studded Chinese squad. They were matched up against LGD for their tournament lives, which is much different from the LGD of today, you know, the one that failed to knock out OG twice. This LGD managed to get their hands on Lycan. This was the only match where Lycan was not first banned in the entire event, and it was going fine. It was going great, actually. DK was winning really hard. They were up 25k gold. Then DK made the move that lost them the game. They won a giant fight. They died back the enemy Lycan, and they pushed. They took 2 lanes of barracks. They almost certainly could have taken megas. There was still 3 people dead when they backed out of the base, but no, they said let's play it safe. Air quotes, safe. LGD's support alchemist ended up being 6th slotted in this 67-minute game, and he ended up being the true carry. They didn't have any real carries on DK. Mushi went a very unconventional Satanic and Abyssal Blade on TA, which is incredibly weird. Both those items were weaker back then as well, and they seemed to be really the wrong choice. You also had the Lanham Enchantress over on DK, who ended the game with only a Force Staff and an Aghanims. Seems really bizarre for a position 5 Enchantress. Why didn't they just make Mech or Vlad's? They should have had both, really. They were a dedicated 5-man pushing lineup and they didn't make either of those items? Pretty sure the game would have ended 40 minutes ago if they did. I said there would be 3 matches that everyone would remember, but actually there's 4. And it's a bit of a special one. It was that all-star match where Arteezy revealed techies to cheers. I don't think those cheers would have happened today if we had known what we know now, but everyone was cheering back then. There was the reveal of Dendi in the Pudge suit to Puppy. That was great, a precious Dota memory, and they got smashed. Arteezy Dendi team got completely smashed, but hey, it was for fun anyway. The tournament lives of Vici Gaming and Cloud9 though were on the line for this next notable match. Particularly game 2, where Sing Sing busted out his signature Meepo, which was beyond rare at that time. So rare. You had a support bounty hunter coming out from Pile Die. You had Bones7 playing the best clockwork of his professional life. This series was remembered because it was so close. It ended in a throne race for game 2. It had Meepo, which was just, the crowd went nuts for that. It had the most courier snipes of any series in Dota 2, except for the modern day, but that's because there's 5 couriers now. Back then there was only a single courier, and still the bounty hunter was picking off like 5 couriers in a single game. It also is remembered for the, maybe for starting out the 50-50 trend. If anyone's unfamiliar with that, that refers to Eternal Envy and how he's notorious for his plays sometimes being amazing, but also very often being terrible. He ended up in the enemy fountain of his own free will, mind you. He was trying to make space for his Meepo to take megas, and it worked, but I don't think he needed to be exactly in the fountain. That seems a little excessive. Vici do go on to win that 2-1, and EG against DK. That is the final game that everyone remembers. This had a lot of crazy things that I think had my jaw dropping when I saw it live. First of all, you had support Enchantress Ursa from Evil Geniuses. Yes, support Enchantress Ursa, which was unbelievably insane, especially back then. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot to mention, not only is it support Enchantress Ursa, but they were double jungling. Yes, both of them were jungling. This was actually a brilliant adaptation by EG. If they could have carried on strats like this all the way up to and including their top 4 matches, maybe they would have been the one in the grand finals. But instead, that top 4 match ended up in a rather embarrassing stomp where they just went super greedy, Midas Alchemist, and yeah, let's not relive that. But this Enchantress Ursa double jungle was actually genius because they used it to go a super early Roshan, which was way better back then and gave way more experience in gold. What you did is you just leveled Enchantress's Untouchable, which was a regular ability back then, used her plus her dominated creep to tank the Rosh, and then the Ursa just stacked up those Fury swipes. And it was a great counter to DP, who, remember, this emerged as one of the best heroes of the entire tournament, was the Death Prophet. Her entire kit relied on being tanky, and Ursa could just stack up infinite damage eventually. And that's pretty much what happened. She had to get a ton of items to deal with the Ursa, but at the end of the day, the Ursa and the EG lineup was able to deal with her. It also had the epic play where Mushi juked 3 EG members to barely live. He played it literally perfect. He timed his ghost perfectly for the Ursa. Right as the ghost was ending, he Yules the Ursa. He managed to get in the trees and then TP out right in front of EG. It was wild. Everyone was going crazy. And now what we've all been waiting for, the TI4 Grand Finals themselves. Even the words TI4 Grand Finals are a bit of a meme because they are just remembered so poorly. And frankly, they were really that bad. Yes, they were really that bad. 80 minutes. The entire year of Dota led up to an 80-minute series. Let me just put that into perspective. There were games like that DK versus LGD match that took longer than 80 minutes, what with the draft and everything between it. Then you had this $5 million grand final that took 80 minutes. And why did it take 80 minutes? Well, it was because we finally saw a true upping in the level of competition and a better understanding of the meta. This was the first event where there was just a complete surprise 180 in the meta. Everyone thought it was a bit longer games, team fight based. But Vici and Newbee proved to us that really it's more like get boots, drums, and wand and let's just go. Glyph is terrible. The towers were incredibly weak back then. No split shot, way less armor, no armor and HP regeneration aura, no refreshing of the glyph. They were just kittens compared to the towers today. Those top heroes of the meta, you know, like Faceless Void, Skywrath Mage, Tidehunter, guess where they were in this grand finals? They were nowhere. They were literally nowhere. You had no lions, you had nothing like this. You just had pushers and early fighters. That was literally it. Vici tried to pick a carry once. They picked a Morphling and then it lost. Oh yeah, wait, there's Lifestealer as well, which lost very fast. Can't even pick a real carry. Just go with Weaver. Or how's carry NP, or Brewmaster, or Venomancer. You know, nice exciting gameplay type of heroes where you just build mech and drums and you try to win the game. Seems pretty cool, right? You know all those $1 million plays that all the TI Grand Finals have? Well, the $1 million play, I'm not making this up, the $1 million play was game 4. It was the $1 million Ironwood branch. That Ironwood branch allowed Brewmaster to get off his ultimate with 1 HP left. It didn't really even matter at the end of the game. Like, they still would have won on the side of Newbee, but it helped them win in 14 minutes, which is the shortest TI game ever, including group stage. Yeah, Moo really outplayed. That was their mid laner, by the way, Moo. He really outplayed VG when they won 19-3 by buying an Ironwood branch. That was like really epic. Almost as epic as the drafts that were taking like 90 seconds because each team knew what they wanted. It was just like, all right, let's ban DP Razor because those heroes ended up being the most broken heroes by far, which was a huge surprise to everyone at the tournament, but they knew. They knew that coming into this. Ban Lycan, obviously. All right, bans are pretty much done. Let's pick up Shadow Shaman. I like that. Let's pick up Brewmaster. Let's pick up any pushing hero we can. The only remotely interesting thing that happened in the draft was when Newbee started prioritizing Alchemist just because it was so good at D-pushing with Acid Spray. You know there's something wrong with the balance of the game when the greediest hero in the game is being picked as D-push and then not leveling Grievel's Greed. The entire signature aspect of the hero just completely wasted. The buff of the ultimate, kind of not relevant. We don't actually pick it for the buff, we just pick it for Acid Spray. And it can build a mech. That's all we need is a guy who builds a mech. I wonder, would pubs have become terrible if this patch didn't stick around for long? Because remember, if you haven't seen our history video about Rubber Band Dota, go check that one out. Ice Frog did knee-jerk react to this patch. He super hit it like, boom, comeback. We need comeback mechanics. We need them by the gallon or the, what do you guys use in the metric system? What do they use? The leaders. We need them by the leaders. We need comeback mechanics by the leader. And he got his wish. Oh boy, were there comebacks. But that patch, was it actually worse than what this patch could have been if it wasn't fully explored? Like, would the professional meta just have been constant 20-minute games and terrible stomps? Maybe even worse than the horrible comebacks of 6.83. I wonder. We'll never know now. really, that's about it. I wish there were more to talk about when it came to this grand finals, but what happened basically was Newbee was the better team, but in game 1 they made the ignorant mistake of picking an actual hard carry for How in Lifestealer. They got stomped, and then they just didn't do that anymore, and then they stomped every single game. That was it. The end. Thanks for watching, guys. But really, we do appreciate it. We see all your comments. We read them all. We love your support from all around the globe. So thank you. Leave a like, leave a sub, leave a comment, please. And we will see you in the next video. We got good stuff planned and hopefully a new patch soon. Oh boy, I cannot wait to make new patch videos.